Hello there, welcome once again. Now, as you can see, it's long, it's black, and it's ready to attack. But you know what the problem is? The problem is, whilst I am holding this loose as it dangles in the air, our last consultation wasn't so successful, was it? And that is problematic because when there are impetuous, degenerative, naughty people who can't think before speaking, we get some serious issues at times, don't we? And conflict. And that conflict needs to be ironed out. And it's making me think, what other ways are possible to resolve that? Please step into the appointment room and maybe I can demonstrate. I will have to stand up for this to show you. Although you won't be able to see my face is not important. What I'm about to do is. So, whilst this thing is pretty much useless now, you hold it, what does it do? It just flails around so uselessly. Maybe I need to go for a softer approach. Is that better suited to you? Softer? Well, I don't care. An item like this, still long, but flowing better, smoother material. So, when bound to the hand like this, and the same here, I'm sure that is better suited, smooth and in style too. I think that will do. And if not, then we really do have a problem, don't we? Well, I have a pair of balls in my hand. I know, amazing. They come in different colours. Now, these are normally associated with exercise. When you do a workout and you need to relax those muscles, they massage, they penetrate deep to the tissue, and that's what can help you recover quicker. Though the unfortunate thing is, they are hard and they are spiky. So when they are pressed against one's skin, it's not always nice. It can burn. It can feel sore after a period of time. So, if any people do act up, they can be applied anywhere. And when you start pressing deep and rolling it around, it's not too good, okay? You see, much more can happen from that. Anyway, with that all introduced, I am sure you'll know how to act next time. Yes? Good. What just happened? I don't know. Anyway, in this video with the Dylan Rounds case, there has been times of conflict and drama all across, spread out maybe on different platforms as well. Now, I think it was already ongoing before I came along, and I saw a little bit of it myself, okay, covering the odd video. You know, you get different levels, and I'm kind of used to it because I've seen it with the Kenny Veach case, okay? So you've got the different groups. You might have the hardliners that believe in a certain and sole thing, a theory, a concept, someone responsible, and they go all in on it. They can be very supportive towards somebody that brings up a point like that, but they just focus on one thing and go all in on it, which can be problematic in its own right because you're not taking into consideration other factors and other things going on. That's why you've got to try and maintain a little bit of balance, because if you go all in on one idea, if it backfires, it doesn't look that good. And then it's like, where do you go from there? That's why you don't go too deep down the rabbit hole, okay? And then on the other side, people that might clash with those, you might get more level-headed people, as seen in the Kenny Veach case, people that think before speaking, think of all the logical stuff and all the different factors and reasonings behind people's motives, behaviour, and the environment itself. And because they're thinking more level-headed, when they come across more extreme, hardline people, there can be a few arguments and disagreements. And then in the middle of all that, you might have the more balanced people that look at both sides. So they're caught up in the firing line from all angles. So it can get very messy. It's a conflict within a conflict, an inner one. Now, with that being said, is there any other structures, groups, or foundations? Well, you've got the YouTubers, the investigators, and the viewers, all with different opinions and thoughts. And like with any case and mystery, there'll be differing interpretations, understandings of certain stuff. And then when there's disagreement, then things can happen from there. Things can unravel, go out of control, there'll be chaos, or there might be a brief moment of just talking things through, trying to understand one another. Both can happen, different points at times. In terms of the Dylan Rounds case, I would say the community, first-hand experience, first impressions. It was a little bit toxic at first, but then again, it's to do with cleansing of the degenerates, the impetuous people demonstrating egocentrism within one's mind, and then you come across more of the normal people. Does this mystery, this case, attract all kinds of crazy people? Who knows? It might be more to do with people within the local area or people visiting boots on ground, okay? Because there's been some discussions where certain YouTubers have been called out as being crazy, demonstrating threatening behaviour, maybe with the use of guns or maybe gang warfare or something at one point. So it seems to be an internal conflict within the case of different YouTubers and investigators having a go at one another. Now, as I said, it's kind of deep because it's like, where do you start? You can't really start anywhere or pinpoint it from a beginning thing at this moment in time. But whilst these YouTubers are, going after each other in some way, not physically, but maybe just like verbally online, it's like, is it necessary? Obviously not. But is there a true reason to why there is all this drama and stuff happening in the first place? It could be numerous reasons. I mean, one of them could be almost like a competitive nature behind them. Each individual wants to be the first one to find Dylan in some way. They want maybe that recognition, that name up there. And I don't mean everyone is like that. From what's been recently talked about, I think it might have been Salty Pancakes or something when he was on some kind of call with Kurt. It was that concept of you've got all these, or originally all these active searchers, maybe volunteers, search and rescue, covering a lot of distance, looking for Dylan for genuine reasons, caring and all that. They do what they do and then that's it. But then you've got these groups or like singular people, YouTubers coming in who want all the recognition or taking all the recognition for being out there searching, but the original search and rescue, the original people that went out there, volunteered, spent the time doing it, weren't recognised as much. So it's like that taking that glory away from certain people because you want to be at the top like king of the hill. So maybe that's part of the conflict. People saying like, no, I did that first. No, I found that. It wasn't you. No, it was all on me. I'm the catalyst. And then another person comes along and says, no, you're completely wrong. You're delusional. It was because of me. And then another person comes in and covers both sides. And then both sides start attacking that individual. And it goes on and on like a chain reaction and so on. That's one of the reasons. The other one, linking back to the competitiveness, that might be to do with the reward. Now, I don't know if that reward is still standing to this day, the 100k one. If it is, then it would make sense to why people, some might be quite desperate or keen on getting out there, searching, investigating, uploading video after video of footage and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they want that reward money. They might be desperate for it. They might really need it, or they just simply want it just to spend on random things. It's one of those things where you'll get a couple of those people, I don't know how many, but you'll get a couple that might act like that. That's probably what led to the chaos earlier on when certain family members said that about the general public helping. But as I said back then, it's inevitable. It's inevitable to happen. You offer such a big reward like that, you're going to attract all kinds of people. Just like if you posted on Facebook your address or something for a house party, all people are going to turn up, including the bad ones and the dodgy people. It's to be expected. So like with this case, you've got those people competing against one another, maybe using certain methods, certain tactics, whether it be threats, causing people to go off the track, off the scent, causing distractions, false information. That's why it's spreading around. People maybe trying to discredit one another when there are genuine people present, giving people a bad name, so then less people are likely to believe in that individual if they do find anything, so that the other person can come along and then say they found something and be seen as more credible and believed in. So it's like people are trying to outdo one another, maybe. Then you'll get some others who are more genuine searching, investigators, YouTubers mainly. Good example would be Scott Natal. Scott Natal doing his own thing. He's not demanding for like donations, and that's the key word, demanding. You know, people might misinterpret it at times. Other people might be very strict with certain rules or things that go on within the case. You know, it's a case at the end of the day. It's serious. All that matters is finding Dylan. Yes, yes, yes. But, you know, when you see certain chats, just like live streams, just like gaming, whatever it may be, if there are certain options to give it by choice, then, you know, that's by choice. It's very good of people to do that, regardless of who it is or the situation. It's just very good that people do that. On the receiving end, the people that are out there exploring, as I said, like Scott Natal, he isn't demanding for anything. He's just doing his own thing. And if anything happens, anything good, that carries with that, okay? But then maybe the way it's been slanted with other people is when you get certain investigators, some people like viewers might have put the point across saying, oh, why is that investigator demanding in every stream money, donations, membership, this, that. And, you know, actually saying it with language during the streams. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. Come on, keep it going. Because some people can be like that. And like what I've seen in the past on certain YouTube videos, like to do with Twitch streamers, the way they act at times, you know, some can be very demanding and ungrateful, you know, certain behaviour. It's not all the time though. And I think that might be what people are associating with some of the YouTubers and investigators out there. Who exactly? Well, I've heard some people throw names about saying like, no thanks. Some people having a go at him. And then maybe another channel or two here. You know, another individual who has been out there in some way would be Salty Pancakes. You know, he's done the odd interview. He has been out there exploring to an extent, such as Montello. And with Salty Pancakes, I don't know. This is my interpretation, so it could be wrong. But the way I see Salty Pancakes, it's one of those situations where it could be considered the Antichrist, the unpopular one. Someone that has different ideas, theories, and knows something maybe other people don't know. But then when that individual states that stuff, because they might not be as popular or known, all the other people that hear it probably just, you know, brush it aside. That's one way of interpreting it, okay? And if a smaller channel, you know, he's grown, but if a smaller channel may act negative towards a bigger channel, it's more likely and more quicker to be suppressed and silenced or just ignored. And obviously when you've got bigger channels with bigger fan bases, it can lead to like a war. You know, as I'm saying with conflict, it's not just always just random general public in the comment section having a go at one another. It can be the channels having a go at one another, which doesn't really help within solving a mystery. But then if you combine both the viewers and the channel matched against another set, then it's like a big conflict. And this is the key thing, and I'll get to in a second, okay? Let me just link back to Salty Pancakes for a second. So as I said, whilst he's been out there exploring or doing the odd interview, he too has been like a Scott Natal in a way. Okay, Scott Natal is more neutral. You know, he doesn't complain, he doesn't say anything negative, he just gets on with it, which is good. Same happened in the Kenny Veach case. With Salty Pancakes, he might say this, he might say that, which could cause, you know, a bit of resistance here and there, but it is what it is. But in terms of him just being out there, boots on ground, he's doing like what Scott Natal does, just doing it. not demanding this, not asking for that, etc. It's natural. That's just the key point, natural. Good things can still happen, things can be given, things could be shared in any situation, in any time. And if it's natural, it just flows. But when things start becoming forced, no matter what it is, if something is forced, it doesn't feel as good, right? It might be uncomfortable, or it might cause a bit of tension, it might cause a bit of unrest over time. And if that builds, that itself can lead to an inner conflict, leading to external rage or disagreement, frustration, vocal, even physical. So there's many different, sources it can come from and build up to. Now, at the end of the day, does conflict and drama matter in a mystery in a case like this? Well, technically yes, because the mystery case is a serious one, and there will be information and serious facts that need to be shared and spread. But then if you do have false information, no matter who it's from, a viewer, an investigator, or even the family, once it starts spreading and it's not cleared up, that's the key line, it causes confusion, it can discredit things, and linking back to that confusion, what can people believe in? If it starts creating trust issues, that could be with certain people within the case, and then it's like, where do you go from there? Because like with those individuals who I mentioned earlier, the ones that go hard, all in on an idea, a theory, down the rabbit hole, and then once it backfires, it's like, where do you go from there? That long-term effect it can have on you. So it's the same with trusting in certain information and things, media, and then later finding out, oh, it was fake, oh, it was exaggerated, and then it's like, damn, that's not good. Now, the reason why it's important where it comes to clearing things up, people can make genuine mistakes or interpret stuff wrong. It's not always their fault. If the original source, the original distributor of that information worded it piss poorly, language, piss poorly, then it might be taken out of context. It might be interpreted the wrong way. Not much you can do about it. And you pass it on to somebody else, and somebody else. Maybe at some point, for some reason, someone misinterprets it again, Chinese whispers, and then it spreads, and then it gets all confusing and messy. So that's the whole point. It just doesn't work. Now, within the Kenny Veach case, that was an open one, open for interpretation, different ideas, bits of evidence, and so on. That was, you could arguably say, was more wild and much more deeper than the Dylan Rounds one, because there was so much to look at. The paranormal aspect, UFOs, reptilians, as I said, ghost, military, military intervention, family themselves internally, a potential murderer, viewers, etc. There was a lot going on, but it was somewhat balanced, providing you had somebody there to cover that balance in certain amounts. You know what I'm saying? And when it did come to a certain idea, it could be media itself, actual video footage, looking at it, observing it, comparing it, contrasting, making it look a little bit more visually clearer, if you try and clear it up and edit it slightly. All that stuff can help. But if it does go wrong, as I said, and it turns out not to be what it was originally interpreted as long as it's cleared up down the line, as soon as the person finds out or understands what it is actually, then it's no longer an issue, because it's a loose end tied up. And that's the whole point of solving a mystery, solving a case. Tying up loose ends, finding potential leads, seeing where they go, and then it might link onto something else. And if it doesn't, or it goes off the track, just make sure it's known and noted down, and then you can move on. So then when people do come across a certain mystery, a sub-mystery finding, and it might seem very dark and mysterious, when they click on it or when they start searching about it, then they will see a later updated video clarifying everything and almost doing a debrief on it, debunking it, which is helpful and time efficient. That's a key thing, that. So is there any proper explanations to describe this behaviour by people in masses, groups, or singular individuals? Well, as I said, that competitiveness nature within humans, it's it's already in there, like it's evolved over time. It's just human nature in that regards, as with like the reward being the first one on top to finish, to complete, to find whatever and to be successful. Yeah, psychologically that can be explained like that through evolution. But in terms of the mind, thought processing, understanding, seeing different perspectives and not just oneself but others, that can be explained a little bit more better, okay? So I saw it within the Kenny Beach case, people complaining, whinging, whining, not understanding the actual specific language I use in my videos. You know, at times it's not me saying it, it's me relaying it from what other people have said. And that's what I mean by the language I use. I say something like, you know, some people have said this, whereas others have said that. A couple have actually resisted and done this and then that. Do you see, that's different wording. It's not I, it's they. It's not me, it's her, him. You get what I'm saying? That's why people need to understand that, because if people fail to do that at the start when listening to certain information, certain discussions, then they go off on one, it gets all out of proportion, out of control, and it's like, calm down, okay? Cross your arms, sit down, listen once again. You know, story time. Let's re-explain what happened, okay? Are you ready? Well done. It's like that. That's what it almost resorts to in a way. So whilst you've got people acting impetuous, demonstrating egocentrism, that could be down to the way they were brought up as a child. You know, you obviously got the primary stages of socialization and secondary stages of socialization. If there is some kind of negative impact within one of those two key stages of developing, then maybe that might have impacted them in the environment they are in. So then when they're brought up and the people they're around now and the way they perceive things, it might not be as clear as what other people might have been if they were in a better environment. You know what I'm saying? And if it's not that, it could be just down to the formal pre-operational stages, concrete stages of, you know, understanding and reasoning abilities developed as a child. You know, being present in a certain activity and environment, understanding, learning, growing when young. But if there is a dysfunction way back then, there is like almost like a roadblock, then it might stop someone from developing, from understanding other people and other methods. And if that's the case, then all they can think is of themselves, their own thoughts, their own opinions, but nobody else around them. So their perception is broken and fragmented, unlike others. So that's just a small portion of it, okay? Now, you know, there could be other reasons as well here and there, just simply due to biasness. You know, if a person or a group supports somebody, even if that somebody might not be as exactly truthful or come out with sharp, realistic information, if there's that biased, people just listen no matter what, and then a nobody or a singular individual comes along with actual important information. It might not be seen as flashy, or it doesn't sound as good or as exciting. It might sound boring, because that biasness and that popularity from beforehand, no one's going to listen to that singular person, even though that singular person can solve something. So that's like how it can work at times. You know, it's not just one thing always, there's different factors and different combinations each time. But from covering the Kenny Veach case, I can see the similarities. I can see the similarities with human behaviour and how people act. You know, I know people can say, oh, it's behind the screen, it's online, blah, 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 blah. It don't really matter at the end of the day, because, you know, it's actually more important this, because I don't think people actually understand when it's behind the screen, you're seeing their true self, especially when it comes to like arguments and people getting angry. You know, as I said, it's better to be hated than to be liked, supposedly, and then find out months later somebody doesn't like you, because that's more damaging. If you know from the start, you know where you stand, you know who to avoid, and you know how to maybe deal with the situation better before things get damaging. Same with online. If you're seeing their true self, even if it's dark, even if it's nasty, you could say they're a coward, because maybe in real life they wouldn't act the same way, but so what? It's better to see them here in their natural habitat, how they would actually act. So if you did ever come across them in real life, you know who to avoid, You know what they would be like and how they would treat you. The problem is when it comes to face-to-face in real life and you just come across somebody, they may be nice, they may be respectful, but it means shit because they might be only like that because you're 6'2", you're 200 pounds, you've got muscle. They're going to be nice because they'll probably be intimidated in some way. So as I said, I think it might have been the last video I did, the psychological one, or the video before that, yeah, to do with body language, how someone might sound, how someone might look, facial expressions, build, posture, all that can have an influence and impact over somebody else. Could be controlling, could be negative, could be intimidating, so that the other person who is present might not act as natural as they normally would do. And the only way you'll be able to see them act naturally would be behind a screen. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good exercise and demonstration, even though it's in a serious case and real serious things are going on and people are suffering. On the side note, you've seen how things can evolve and how people can adapt, and you'll see the real sides behind people, which is important. Now, finally, the only way of looking at it positively, whether it still applies now or just in the past, is whilst you've got this conflict going on, not with everyone or every situation, but some of that conflict is a positive thing because it highlights a bit of passion, that energy in wanting to solve the case or wanting to find Dylan or wanting to help in some way. That's why people are maybe a bit heightened in tension in trying to put this point across or debunk that or reinforce this point and so on, because they care. And obviously if they care, it seems more genuine and natural, which is a good thing. So maybe here and there might be misunderstandings, and that's why it leads to conflict in itself. At the end of the day, as said, now or in the past, with multiple people exploring, investigating, whether it be boots on grounds, aerial view shots and observations, or mental processing, in real life, online, it doesn't matter. There are different points of views, there are different angles, and there are different positions to look at and investigate, because like with on a boat, like I can't think of a boat, just say the Titanic, because that's the only one I can think of. Whilst shit's going down, literally, you've got different decks, D-E-C-K-S, decks, okay, where people work on it and operate, trying to solve a certain problem, an issue. Whether it's successful or not, they're trying, and it's a genuine attempt. And on each deck, there's a different, I guess, role to fill. So it's like that within this case. Whilst things might be going to shit in terms of the conflict, in terms of the actual outcome of the case, it could be negative, which may be inevitable. At the same time, there are still roles to fill and spots to cover the different points of views in solving the case, and trying to clear things up along the way. Maybe people won't always link with one another, but separately, maybe some form of progress can be made. Whilst you've got these proper investigators going out, you might get the odd few lone individuals who just do it here and there casually, and they might find something, you never know. Scott Natal, as I said, he's quite hands-on, so he might come across something. With Salty Pancakes talking to certain key people, that could help in itself, okay? And then with the likes of, what's he called, Tyler Feller, I might be wrong, Tyler, who's covered it quite a lot with his PowerPoint presentations and his little links between the different key suspects and people that know each other. That's helpful in itself, visually, to understand, because of the notes made and the pictures, but then also mentally as well. And then maybe the no thanks, keeping the case alive, making a bit of noise, and then, to a small extent, me, because I've only just come along in recent time, just dissecting all the stuff bit by bit, so it's easier to search for, to look up, and maybe debunking along the way if I get to that stage, okay? As I said, there's different parts, and they can all be effective in some way. Don't always have to link, okay? So that's probably why there's conflict when links are tried to be made. So I think that explains most of it. There might be other things to cover at that point in time, but I think that basically sums it up just for now. Obviously, the important thing is trying to solve the case. whether that be finding Dylan or finding, I guess, his remains. And, you know, it's one of those things where even if there is a little bit more evidence linked with Dylan, or there is a strong conviction with a certain suspect, and then they get punished and go down, and then the supposed justice, that doesn't matter. What matters, or no, what equally matters, what runs in parallel to that, is obviously finding Dylan in some way or another, whatever that is. And whilst, you know, one person might be the key suspect and get sent down, are they going to reveal the location of where Dylan is? You know what I'm saying? Or are they going to be awkward? Because as you've seen in the past, when it comes to serial killers and just general criminals, they might be awkward and stubborn, and they might not actually say where he's at. So then that prolongs things and it causes longer suffering. So that idea of justice, the person being sent down, they still control the hand. They're still playing the game. They're still winning in a way. They still have the power. You see what I'm saying? So it goes hand in hand. You know, okay, you find Dylan, that's good. Well, not exactly good, because it might be a negative outcome likely, but there's a little bit of peace of mind, if that makes sense. Because as the mother said, she said it's a bit of a relief to know it's likely it's a murder rather than suicide, because she knows her son well and she knows he enjoyed doing what he did, being a farmer. So that's what she meant by the relief part there. So I guess it would be slightly more relief to know that they found him and then they can put him to rest. And if not that, positive in being able to actually find him alive, if that ever was possible. So there's that. But then if the person hasn't been sent down, then there's still that lingering negative feeling, isn't there? That the person hasn't suffered, paid the price. So what happens there? It's not 100% complete, if that makes sense. But then equally, you flip it around and it's like, oh, the person is sent down, got justice, really, that's good. Something, even though it's very small, something good came out of it in a way. Very small, as I said. But then you still got that lingering feeling of, I can't find Dylan. Where is he? We're never going to find him. So that you never settled. Always disturbed, or you just can't settle down because it's always on your mind. So it's a two-way thing. Both have to happen at the end of the day. And the question is, will it? I don't know. You can leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on that, but also your thoughts on the community itself. Is it toxic? Is it not? Is it helpful? Is it not? Or is it mixed? You can leave a comment down below, okay? So that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.